This is Center Topic, a public affairs presentation of RevFM on current events, issues, and happenings in and around central Pennsylvania.
The Oasis Conference coming to State College. We have Karen Ciccarone is with us here. And Karen, what is your role here? Are you like one of the organizers for this Oasis Conference?
Yes, I'm here with Sue Margolis.
Okay.
And Sue and I met about a year ago. Well, we actually knew each other just casually before that, but we were at an event together, and I asked her if she was still working at the Pregnancy Resource Clinic. And she said, no, not now, because I feel that God wants me to work with sexual abuse victims.
I see.
And it really surprised me because I have also been sexually abused, and I told her that. So that is how it got started. We began walking together and sharing bits of our stories together, and found out we both like to read, so we started, sharing books. And then I came across this book called Beyond Desolate. And that book, the subtitle is Hope versus Hate in the Rubble of Sexual Abuse. And as I started reading that book, I began to see how much God has brought me along in my own healing journey. And the book is, it has a really good blend of psychology and biblical truth.
Interesting.
And and I found that to be really
people find
helpful.
that hard to kind of combine sometimes.
Yeah, they do. But I found that has been most helpful to me, to have a combination of both for my healing. So
you really just met her kind of on your life journey.
Yes.
More than anything else. It was, Sue, tell us your side of things here. You come across her, you meet her, and how did it impact you whenever you kind of met each other like this?
It was really very supportive when we would both walk together and talk about it. And when you have someone walking the journey with you, you just feel a lot better, and you're free to share. And
do you, either one of you, have like any sort of educational training, or just sort of like some I don't know, schooling on dealing with sexual abuse cases of any kind, aside from just personal, stories about the whole thing? No,
it's just, it was my walk, my healing journey. I have a passion for it. So I've read a lot of books, and I really want to help other people. And
this is something that, oddly enough, you don't hear that much about. You hear about so many other types of abuse, and really in the church you don't hear much about this as well. And I think it's just been very recently that more people have been coming out and have been talking about this. And they're finding it that by doing so, it's not as traumatic, I guess. In fact, it helps the more that they talk. So once you guys began walking together, talking about this, you started kind of coming up with some great ideas on other people, because you obviously are not the only two people that have been impacted by this. So tell us a little bit how this walk began to kind of like move into more of a journey.
Well, Karen said, let's, what do you think if we email these authors? We think they're so good. And
interesting. They
travel all over the world. So Karen emailed them, and by golly, they said yes.
Wow. To email the authors to just what? To get their...
To come for a conference.
To come for this. Now, how long ago did this whole thing begin, actually? Karen, tell us.
This actually began last fall, when I emailed them. So
you guys have been together walking and talking and sharing year and a half since over a total, or
about a year.
About a year. So then last fall, after all this talking and brainstorming together, you shoot out a few of these emails. Now, these authors, are they from around here? I mean, where are some of these authors are all from? I know they're coming. You have some listed in the brochures coming to this thing, but where are some of these guys and else from?
Well, Tammy Schultz and Hannah Estabrook, they co-authored this book, and Tammy is from Indiana. She's a counselor there, and she is a speaker and professional, counselor, and she won the 2010 Indiana Counselor of the Year award.
Wow.
And Hannah is from Ohio. She has a private practice in Ohio.
Now, you talk about the book. Now, give us the name of the book again.
Beyond Desolate.
And how did you come across this book?
Well, through the Fellowship of Grace Brethren newsletter magazine.
Okay.
And as soon as I saw it, I just knew it was a God thing. Like, yeah, I need to get
Now,
this
I'm not
book.
familiar with that, the newsletter. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, my husband and I belonged to the Grace Brethren Church back when we used to live in Telford like 13 years ago.
Okay.
And so we still get the newsletter in the mail.
I see.
So when I came across the
And
book...
so this was a book that was just put in just as a suggestion, or was it a book review or something? Or
Yeah, it was an advertisement for the book and
see.
a review of it.
I see. And that just popped out.
Yes.
And wow, this is kind of cool. And so when you got the book and you started reading through it, obviously bells and whistles are going off.
Yes, exactly.
What about that book that really struck you, just really resonated?
Well, I think the big thing is, God's compassionate love for people that have been broken by abuse. And I think the professionalism that they wrote, I mean, it's just, they really understand sexual abuse.
And did it feel like that they were talking exactly to some of the things that you had experienced?
Exactly. Yeah. I know one of the things that they brought out is the difficulty that people have when sexual abuse is also combined with spiritual abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that I have experienced.
Yeah.
And they talked about how, the trust is such a big issue in this area. So that was one of the things that really... impacted me.
Well, sure, and you begin to mix things like this, and it can be really. Now, Sue, did you read the book as well? Have you had a chance to look at the book?
Yes.
And
yes.
what? And did you read through it? What's your? How did it? Bounce off you?
Well, for me, in my walk, I went to a counselor who wasn't Christian, and then I had the church helping me.
I see.
So again, the fact that it was combined.
I see.
And you could get healing altogether.
Exactly.
Was very impactful.
Right, and so, but this book that she was talking about with Karen, I mean, did she loan it to you to read, or had you read it earlier?
No, she gave it to me on one of our switches.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I said, I just love it. I just love it.
And you'd never even heard of the author or the book or anything prior to this. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Just two people out on a walk, they happen to find some commonality, share a book, and the next thing you know is we're now planning to write these authors. Now I saw there was another author here. His name is Thomas Edward. Tell us about this.
The conference is for both men and women.
Okay.
So he's our male speaker.
I see.
And he's the founder of Healing Broken Men Ministry. And he's also written 2 books. One is Scared Boys, Terrified Men, which is the healing of male childhood sexual abuse. And the other is Stuck Christians, and that's an organization. Oh, he founded an organization called Stuck Christians.
I like that name.
Yeah, designed to help believers deal with dark pains and hurts that are neglected by the faith.
And then there is Victoria Kepler Didado. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes, and Karen and I went to their weekend retreat.
I see.
For healing sexual abuse, and we really loved it. We got a lot out of it, so we went up to her and asked her if she'd speak at our conference. And she's from State College. She went to Penn State, even though she's in Ohio. And she said yes. Wow. And
and it's funny, you guys are talking about this like, you just go to the coffee shop and share coffee and just, but it's not that comfortable for some people. Whenever you, obviously, I mean, just the fact that you meet her, you meet Sue on your walk, and you just begin to start talking about this. A lot of folks would just say, "Well, that's personal. I just can't bring myself to do this." But yet, that's probably the best thing that you've ever done. When you talk to other people that maybe have had sexual abuse in their life, do they maybe say, "I just don't want to talk about that," or "I have never thought of just going to somebody and opening up"? I mean, how do you pull something like that of somebody?
I think when I would share personally that helps the other person to feel comfortable, because if it's really too hard for them and they hear someone else sharing, like for me, the first time that I opened up about it, besides just to a counselor, was in a small group Bible study.
Yeah.
And one of the women on the video had talked about having been sexually abused.
Yeah.
And we had small group discussion afterwards, and I wanted to leave. I thought, I'm not staying around for this.
Yeah.
But there was someone in the group who encouraged me to stay. And I don't know how. It must have been the Holy Spirit speaking to her that I, just needed, that I was going to leave or something. But when I first opened up, there was like 8 women, 8 of us in the group. it was just so powerful to be able to say what had happened to me.
Well, let me ask you, either one of you guys can jump in on this. I mean, obviously the last place back, years ago to talk about this would be in the church. Has it become easier, in your experience, for folks like in a church Bible study to come out and talk about something that is so taboo, or, we don't talk about this here,
Yeah, I think it is. And when all the thing with Sandusky happened, I happened
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
you beat me to it.
To be in a Bible study that day.
Yeah.
And it was a large Bible study, and we broke up into small groups. And half of the people in that group were crying and able to come and say something, and talk about it, and share.
Yeah. So to some degree, you might say a horrific tragedy has at least been able to bring something to light to maybe offer a solution.
Yes.
I mean, now to some churches it may go, well, how do you do this? What's the right angle? I mean, is this conference something that other churches can come to say, you know what, we don't know how to handle situations like this?
Yeah, I think the conference is a weekend retreat for both men and women, and it's for people who have been affected by trauma. It's also, and sexual abuse. It's to create an understanding of what sexual abuse is, and it's to give them hope and healing, and it's also for professionals to come and learn.
So I mean, this is even worthwhile for pastors or other church leaders to say, you know what. This is something that, I mean, and here's something that I know that in talking to other professionals, that two of the places that probably sexual abuse is most common is in a religious or a church setting and in a family setting. Now, would you concur with probably something like that?
I think Karen's got the one, and I've got the family setting. So.
Yeah. So and there you have it. I mean, because it again, it goes back to the whole trust factor. In case you're tuning in, we're talking about an Oasis conference coming to State College, and it's going to be coming up here very, very soon. Actually, we're going to talk about the dates here pretty soon, too. But we have Karen and Sue here with us that are planning this. When you're planning this conference, I mean, you started calling these authors. You started talking about, we should do something here. All right, tell us how this all came about, because you got to have a place to have it. Even if the authors say, yeah, we'll do it, most authors are going to say, well, where are you having it? They want some details on this. So tell us how this whole conference idea began to gel.
Okay. Well, actually, in the back of the book, the authors gave a suggestion to host a conference at your church.
Okay.
So, Sue
and that's all you needed.
That's all we needed. Yes, come to State College.
Yeah.
So Sue and I talked to our pastor, Aaron Henning, at the State College Alliance Church, and he was totally supportive.
Very supportive.
Very supportive. And he took time to get the blessing of leadership from the elders and the staff. And they were unanimously, voting to have a conference. So they got behind us, and Pastor Aaron suggested we form a team. So there's 3 other women on the team that we've been meeting, praying and brainstorming and doing all kinds of stuff together.
And when this all happened, how long ago did you get the official blessing, you might say? And so give us a timeline as to how much time you're going to have to get this thing executed.
I would say in December is when we got the blessing from the leadership.
Okay. So you've been working on this then from basically the first of the year, and the conference is coming when? November
8th and 9th.
So you had basically 11 months to begin to start putting all this together, getting the word out, and you got a brochure on the whole thing, and so this is really the first annual, or the first of its kind.
Yes.
You don't know of any other thing like this that has ever come to State College, do you?
Last year, Calvary had a group gathering.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't know of anything else.
That was it.
Vicki.
Oh, and Vicki was here last year with Calvary.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a Friday and Saturday event, and you got a pretty impressive lineup here. With it starts right at 8:30 in the morning on this Friday, and you've got your coffee and muffins. You can't, you got to have got to have that to get things started. When you're setting and putting this together, I mean, had you guys ever put together like a conference like this at all?
No.
So this is really from the ground up.
Yeah.
God has really led us through this whole thing, and He's put people in our path
Okay.
to help us with different
Do
things.
you think the whole Sandusky event really helped in the momentum in getting something like this, getting people, yeah, you know what, I want to be a part of this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even for myself, like I knew for a couple of years that God had something for me to do with our church to reach the community. I didn't know what it was. When the Sandusky thing happened, I just was so much more burdened to do something. And I was just waiting on God, and when this conference idea came up, boom, there it was.
Yeah. Now, and for people that are listening and they're thinking, you know, oh my gosh, the last thing I want to do is to air my dirty laundry at this conference. But how would you address that?
Well, I don't think they have to worry about it at all.
Yeah.
There's professionals there. There's going to be pastors there. There's counselors that are going to be there. There are husbands, wives, sisters, brothers, uncles of people that have been abused that are coming. So no one is going to single you out, and no one is going to know that you were abused unless you choose to say something.
Right, and that's not going to be the main focus, though. It's going to be one of the ones that you're talking about, right. I'm sure, but it deals with so many other areas. I mean, what are some? I mean, I'm looking at this thing, and we have some of you have your keynote speakers here, but this flashback fury. I mean, I think that's kind of an interesting thing right there. You're talking about traveling beyond desolate lands to a fertile oasis. I mean, these are some very rather open-ended titles. So, I mean, these are kind of like breakout sessions, aren't they? That you're going to be having.
Well, actually, Friday, those will be seminar.
Okay.
And then on Saturday, we will have the workshops morning and afternoon. Yeah.
And really, no one is going to have to come and share any of the thing. That you're going to be getting information probably more than anything else. Yeah. And inside these seminars, give us give us a rundown on these seminars. What are the choices are going to be?
Okay. Well, you had mentioned the Flashback Fury.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand there's a new DSM for diagnosing post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes. Okay.
So that will be covered in detail.
Interesting.
And that's one of the main symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder is flashbacks. So that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of abuse survivors struggle with that,
right.
and it's what lead many to go to therapy in the first place.
Right. Okay. So
I particularly like the afternoon workshop, Equipping Husbands, Partners, Friends of Sexual Abuse Survivors.
Okay.
Because I really want my family to understand what I went through and why I acted the way I did and, what's behind it all.
Right. Well, I mean, and it does, people say, well, it doesn't, that happened back then, but it does affect going forward in areas of trust.
Oh, it's you have no idea until you really get into it how much it has affected your daily life for years and years and years.
Right.
I had flashbacks of sexual abuse when I was a child for my whole life, and you never addressed it, just ignored it until about 5 years ago when it all started coming at me, and it started disrupting my life, and so then I had to go and find help for it.
Right.
Which was the best thing I ever did.
So obviously, it sounds like this Oasis conference is going to be helping you guys, and you're the ones that are behind planning it, for the most part.
Oh, I think it can help anybody.
Yeah. Tell us some more about on the second day. Here's I like that one of the workshops here is triggers and rituals associated with the trauma. There's some things that deal with causing these things to trigger, and what's that going to be about?
Okay. When you have been through abuse, there are certain memories that can be triggered by like a song, by smell, by just anything that might have happened during the abuse. And so it's important to recognize those things, and the speakers will get into that.
You have, toward the very end, an open mic. So is this an opportunity for those that feel comfortable doing so, just to come up and maybe give some personal accounts on how they have overcome incidences in their life?
Yeah, that would be great. And also, if they have been, touched by, something that they heard during the conference, to share that then.
Oh, true. That's true. And obviously, you're going to have some experts here that have dealt with this, so you're going to be able to pick their brains, to kind of talk about and give you some ammunition to use.
Yeah, Friday night we're having a panel discussion.
Yeah.
So people can, ahead of time, they can send in questions.
Wow.
Through the
Anonymously,
registration site, anonymously.
Yeah.
And then we will be taking questions as they are speaking, during the panel discussion.
Yeah. Now, Sue, you were going to say something. I think you're going to...
I was just going to say, you were talking about breakout sessions and all, and Karen and I are both going to give our stories.
Okay.
And what happened to us and how God worked mightily in our lives.
Right. Now, that's obviously, when people talk about getting some kind of therapy or some sort of remediation for sexual abuse, the first thing you think about is the clinical stuff, the stuff that How do you weave in the biblical aspect of this into the conference? I mean, how do you plan to address that?
Okay. One of the workshops on Saturday is called Anguish Unvoiced, Language of Lament.
Yep.
And that will be just delving into the scripture and like the deep passion expressions of grief that people experience. It is such a loss that people go through. And so just bringing up, how God meets you in that time.
Well, it cheapens your whole view of your body when this happens.
Definitely.
And so the way to get over this sometimes is you have to see yourself the way God sees you.
Exactly. Yeah, we struggle with low self-esteem. And then, and you can work on that, like mentally in your mind, change that with the truth that God, gives you your esteem and you are, whole in Christ. But it needs to go deeper when you've been through this.
And this conference enables you to maybe tap into those.
Yes.
That's exciting. And anything else? What are you? I mean, you guys put this all together. What are you guys looking forward to the most about this conference?
I think we both have a really deep passion for healing for people. And God did a mighty work in us, and we want that for other people.
Now, I was going to say, how did that happen? I mean, you didn't have a conference to go to. Okay, so how were you able to rise above these past instances of sexual abuse?
Okay, I began the healing journey about 7 years ago, and it was through facing the memories of what happened to me and being able to grieve over the losses and over the pain and bringing that to God and having His Spirit comfort me in the midst of that.
It takes a strong person to be able to do that. Most of the time, if you're the abusee, you don't have that kind of, stamina sometimes, don't you think? Sometimes you just, when you feel beat down, that takes a lot of guts, and stamina to come out and say, what, I need to do this. Kind of like pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Yeah, I think just the desire so much to be free, just kept pressing me on. I'm going to deal with this. I want to get free. I want to get victory. I want to get over it.
Yeah. So, and how about you?
Well, in my case, it was my grandfather, and I was abused between the ages of 7 and 12. So, as I said before, I had flashbacks as a kid, but then about 5 years ago, they just kept coming at me, and I had no choice. I mean, I had to get help. I had to deal with it. And I was able to face each flashback and go back to it and experience the feeling and the healing and move on from that.
Well, that was going to be the thing I was going to say. Moving on, you have to say, okay, that was then. You cannot change the past, but you can change the future. And that's probably going to be brought up a couple of times in this conference, I'm sure. Now you've got flyers that are out around, and where can they pick up some of these? Because you can get the flyers and read more about the speakers, and you can see the itinerary, what it all is going to entail. Where can they find these?
I'm sure at all the churches we'll eventually have flyers, and we have posters.
Okay.
We'll probably even have them in the grocery stores.
Okay.
Everywhere that will let us put it up.
Right. I was going to say, too, just kind of thought of this. I mean, how have the churches in general have they accepted promoting this sort of thing? I mean, this is not exactly what you'd call a feel-good, warm, fuzzy kind of thing. I mean, a lot of churches kind of go,
I think that's really changing.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they really want help.
Yeah?
For the people, and they know
Which
there's
is
healing
good.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know in the past, a lot of times it's like, well, I don't know if we want to discuss this here, this kind of thing, which is really good. And I really agree. I really think that the events that have taken place over the last couple of years, especially in State College, has really forced the issue that we have to do something about this. And in all fairness, the church has to do something about this. Because,
and there's tremendous healing there.
Right.
I went to a counselor that was not a Christian, so I had that. And then I had a friend take me to a healing service at CMA. And I was actually very mad and very angry at that particular time. But they took me and sat me down, and the praise music started. And really, I wanted nothing to do with that at that minute. But I started, singing and praising the Lord. And the anger just went away. Yeah. And the Holy Spirit came back.
Well, and this is that's the key. I mean, the thing is, you have to stop focusing on yourself more than anything. You've got to say you've got to put that focus on God. You've got to put that focus to, because that's what the devil would want us all to do, is to continue to look inwardly and look at our own selves, and that's not going to do anybody any good, for the most part. If we got couple minutes left for folks that might be listening that are thinking, this could be me. I could go to this sort of thing. I mean, but I just don't know. I don't know if I can bring myself to do this. I mean, have you talked to some folks that are a little reluctant about coming to this?
We haven't really found anybody who was reluctant. We have talked to people who might be bringing someone.
Okay. That's even a good idea, too.
Yeah, and if they are afraid to come on their own, it would be great to get a support.
Sure.
We encourage them to bring a support person.
Absolutely. Now, is there phone numbers to call? Say, I don't know if there's where I can get the flyer, but can I call somebody and find out about it?
Sure. They can call 814-237-7991, which is the church office.
Okay.
And then they can also go to the Facebook website, facebook.com/Oasis Conference. And the statecollegecma.com is another place where they can find information.
Oh, they have that there as well. And here's one that any of you guys can take a good shot at. What happens after the conference? What do you you have it? If people have come, they've had things happen. What comes after the conference? Is there going to be another one?
Well, possibly. But we would really like to provide support groups for people that have been abused that are interested.
Okay.
And we're working on getting that together now.
Oh, nice.
So we will have sign-up sheets for people that would like to join one, and also for those who are interested in leading.
Oh, good. So then you can come to this and get hope and realize, it doesn't stop here. We can, and then something that you guys are doing, then the folks that have been abused, they can reach out to other people and be someone strong for them as well.
It's really a journey of healing.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
So, again, the conference is coming to the State College Alliance Church, November the 8th and 9th. It's Oasis 2013, Springs of Hope for Sexual Abuse Survivors. And you need to register by October 25th. Make sure we get that in there, too, okay? So they can get that in there as well. And the number to call if you want more information about the Oasis Conference, 814-237-7991. So thank you guys for being our guests this week on Center Topic.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for having us.
If you or someone you know have topics or would like to be a guest for future programs on Center Topic, contact RevFM at 814-867-3836 or email info@revfm.net. You can also write Center Topic, RevFM, WRXV, 925 Howsville Road, State College, Pennsylvania, 16801. Center Topic is a public affairs presentation of RevFM.